Well, I've been a classical pianist for 41 or 42 years, about half of that time, a little more than half of that time professionally. And my specialty is being a collaborative pianist, which means I accompany other instruments, violinists, violists, flute players, trumpet players, trombone, any instrument that you find in a classical symphony orchestra, I've worked with, and then some. And so as you can imagine, working with so many different instruments, you have to know and learn and have access to a very large library of music. One of my personal challenges has been my memory. Remembering to bring a piece of music. I can't tell you how many times I've shown up, opened up my bag, and realized to my horror that I forgot some important piece of music, and either had to, just the stress of trying to get a copy, get something faxed, or even on some embarrassing occasions not being able to do the gig because I didn't have the right piece of music. It happened too many times that I really started thinking that there must be a way to do this digitally. Now this is back way before there was anything like an iPad or the Kindle or any of these other tablets. Back in 2002, okay, Microsoft came out with the first tablet PC. This is the first computer that enabled users to not just see their, see pages or documents with a laptop screen where you would see just kind of the horizontal view, but with a tablet PC, you can actually turn your computer around and see a full page at a time, what we call portrait mode for computers. This is great. This is the first device that I thought I could practically read a full page of music at a time. This was the answer. For me, that was the light bulb moment in my life. I started scanning all my music. I loved it. I loved the digital screen. I loved to be able to draw all my ink markings using the digital pens that came with these computers. I could store thousands of scores on the hard drives of these machines. It was great. Great solution for carrying everything. Instead of trying to remember which piece to bring, I would simply have everything on my hard drive. The one new problem that came up with this digital solution was the fact that I could only see one page of music at a time, one screen at a time. So I needed to come up with a way to turn the pages hands-free. Since I was going to be turning pages twice as often, I didn't want to be interrupting myself from playing the piano to touching a button or touching the screen or something to turn the page. So what I started working on were these foot switches or these pedals so that while I was playing, I would simply tap my foot while I was playing and it would turn the page, or send a command to the computer to turn the page. The problem was that I was using off-the-shelf computers, off-the-shelf foot pedals at the time, and they all had one or all of these problems. They were noisy, they all clicked, and they weren't designed to be silent. They were designed to give you audible and tactile feedback, and they were loud. So imagine playing a concert and hearing this click while you're performing in an acoustic setting. Not a good situation, especially for recording. Oh, that was terrible for recording. So they were all loud. They all had this cable that I had to plug into the USB port, and so they were pretty ugly. And they were complicated. I had to custom program each of these pedals to assign them to specific keyboard commands. I mean, I love working with computers, but I can imagine somebody who doesn't work with computers, this would be a real headache. And one secret fear that I had was if I ever walked on stage and the USB port accidentally got disconnected from the computer, I would have to reboot the entire computer because the drivers would freeze. So that was my biggest fear, that somehow I would trip, unplug the cord, have to sit on stage rebooting the computer in the middle of a performance. That actually only happened once. But once is one time too many. So I wanted to find a way to develop a page-turning pedal that was silent, sleek, and simple. Silent, I didn't want any clicking. Sleek, I wanted no wires. I wanted a wireless device. And simple. I wanted to be able to turn this thing on, it just works. Okay? 3 qualifications. Well, after one of my recitals when I was using my computer and my foot switch, a lady came up backstage, and we usually greet folks after their concerts backstage, and a lady came up and she was crazy. She was so excited, and she was, she just came up rushing up to me and said, "Oh, you don't know how long me and my friend have been looking for somebody like you." She gave me her card and invited me to fly out to Colorado to meet her friend. His name was Lester Karplus. Lester was an entrepreneur, had started about 13 different companies, and in fact was an amateur clarinetist, in addition to being a tinkerer and a great engineer. So the funny thing was, as we were kind of getting to know each other, we realized that we were both thinking the same thought at approximately the same time, where we were both thinking about coming up with a digital music reader solution and subsequently some way to turn the pages with a kind of a pedal, a hands-free way to turn pages. So we collaborated, we got together and started AirTurn back in December of 2008 and came up with our first products to turn pages for regular laptop computers and tablet PCs, which the Microsoft tablet PCs back then really never caught on. But fortunately, 2 years later, of course, we saw the introduction of the Apple iPad, which was a complete game changer and finally, in a sense, brought the world around to what I had been doing for the past 12 years, being a paperless pianist. It was great to see the world kind of catch up to what I had already been doing, and so we just kind of went with the flow. It was perfect timing, and the company has been exploding ever since. I believe that the shift to digital sheet music is having a revolutionary effect on music performance. In terms of accessibility to music scores, you can get more music more easily, instantly, than ever before. Just like the Kindle has revolutionized the accessibility of books to the Kindle app and the Kindle devices. You can buy your book anytime, anywhere, and get it instantly. We have that same revolution happening for digital sheet music. So now you can learn any piece, get it, and not have to go to the store and worry about whether or not it's in stock or not. And I hope more and more publishers realize this and make that transition to making more of their scores available in digital formats. Another really interesting aspect is that I believe digital sheet music makes the performance more seamless. What I mean by that specifically, in the classical music world, we've got a funny job position. It's called the job position of the page turner. It's actually a human per page turner, somebody whose sole job it is to sit in a chair next to an instrumentalist, the pianist most likely, and when the pianist gets to the end of a page, the page turner gets up, turns the page over, sits back down. And it's a very thankless job. It's not a very well-paying job. And heaven forbid you have a page turner who doesn't know how to read music. They have the real ability to mess up a performance. Of course, there's also the hassle of trying to find somebody who's willing to sit through this thankless job to be up there and have the stress of turning at just the right moment. It's embarrassing, and it's also visually distracting. With digital music and hands-free page turners, you don't have that distraction. You can just have the performer, their music, and they turn their own pages. You don't have an extra body just taking up space on the stage. And it looks like you're memorizing your music. So people look at you and they can focus on the performance. There's no visual distraction. You can focus on the performance. And I've actually been in several performances using my iPad and my AirTurn, and people come up to me and say, how in the world did you memorize all that music? They didn't even notice that I had music up there because I didn't need to touch it with my fingers. And some other ways that digital sheet music is really transforming performance. With some apps that read chord charts or text-based music, if you want to transpose your music on the fly, you can do so instantly. So you can transpose your keys instantly. If a singer has a cold, needs to transpose it down, you can do that without any stress. Some digital sheet music for traditional notation will let you do that as well. Another really amazing ability is, of course, the ability to work on annotations and draw markings on your music without hurting the paper. And instead of having these ugly scribbles over and over the same page, you can actually save different versions. So if you have a person that has this interpretation or somebody else playing the same piece with a different interpretation, I can save two different versions digitally and give each person that I'm working with their own custom interpretation. So those are just a few examples of how sheet music, digital sheet music, makes it easier to get your music, makes it easier, of course, to carry everything you have, all your entire library in one binder or one device, excuse me, not like in the old paper binders. It makes it easier to change keys or to customize performance for somebody. Of course, you don't have the hassle of having an extra person turning pages for you on stage, or the hassle of searching through binders to find whatever pieces that you need to play. If you have to shuffle along different kinds of requests and such. So that's just a few of the amazing revolutions that digital sheet music brings to the performance stage. While we don't have any major orchestras using tablets full time to read digital sheet music, and hence they're not adapting the AirTurn yet for all their performances, there are a number of musicians within several orchestras around the world that are using the AirTurn, and some of them include concertmasters like David Kim from the Philadelphia Orchestra. He's recently started using an iPad to read his sheet music for recitals and solo performances, and has AirTurned to turn pages hands-free, and he loves it. And it's been so much fun seeing this traditional musician just discover the wonder of what digital sheet music can really do, and how amazing it is to have hundreds, thousands of pieces in this 1.5-pound tablet device. He uses an iPad to read his music. Martin Chalafort is the concertmaster of the LA Philharmonic. He's actually been a long-time AirTurn user, so he's another musician out there. And I'm hearing reports from several of my colleagues in other orchestras that they are starting to see more and more soloists come by using the AirTurn in their, when they come by to visit the orchestras. That's been really, really cool. So we're having a lot more musicians that are adapting it. Certainly a lot of smaller ensembles like string quartets are using the AirTurn. Just to kind of do a little bit of name dropping, we know that musicians from American Idol, the backing musicians, are also using the AirTurn, the cover bands for all the acts there. So it's been exciting to see the AirTurn being adopted as more of these groups, ensembles, bands, and hopefully someday orchestras start to discover the amazing benefits of using digital sheet music readers, tablets, and such. Having an online store was critical to AirTurn's growth and success on a number of levels. First of all, it was affordable. There was no way we would take a product that was brand new, that people really had no idea that they needed. We just didn't have the capital to run out and try to get thousands of these made and distributed to Walmart or Best Buy or any of these other stores. There's no way that you could get into a larger distribution channel until you prove yourself and really prove that there's a market for what you're making. Having an online store really gives you the opportunity to prove to yourself and to the world that there is a market for what you're doing, and to do so in a cost-effective manner. The other advantage of an online store is that the store itself, by the way that you can design it to include tags and descriptions and other search engine optimization techniques, right now we are living in an online advertising world. The most effective ads are becoming the ones that we create online, and the content we create online as having the maximum effect in terms of reaching an audience, educating them, growing them, building relationships with them, and having an online store really gives you the tools to do that. You create content with your product descriptions, you create opportunities for people to find you online, and the convenience for them to shop 24/7 wherever they are in the world. Again, I can't emphasize strongly enough how critical it's been for AirTurn to have a strong online store presence, and how instrumental it's been to our continued success. We all have desires, abilities, passions, dreams, and I think for artists and musicians in particular, we spend so much time honing our skills and our craft to such a high artistic degree that I think we can develop a somewhat myopic, self-centered view of the world. For any aspiring entrepreneur, particularly those who are coming from the art or music worlds, my advice would be based on a quote that I once read. It's an anonymous quote, and I'm not going to get it right word for word, but it says something to the effect of, the degree of success that you're going to find in business will be largely determined by the degree to which you are able to turn your mirrors into windows. You know, rather than look at the world with a set of mirrors where you're just looking at yourself, who am I, what can I do, and what kind of a job do I want, what are my desires? If you can change that view to a window view and start to look at other people's needs, other people's wants, other people's desires, and start aligning yourself along with, rather than worry about who you are, what you want, start to think about, what do other people need? What do other people want? What is a problem out there that I could help solve? What is an issue that I'm passionate about to really make a difference? How can I change the world and make it a better place through my abilities and my skills? So if you can think of ways that your dreams, your abilities, your skills can become more aligned with the needs of others, again, looking out the window rather than looking at a mirror to yourself, the more that you can align yourself with the world at large, to really understand other people and their desires and needs and problems, and to see the ways in which you can solve that, that's really the best way that I can advise anyone to think through the best business for themselves, the best ways to find the tools that they need to achieve success in that business, because it'll not be just about themselves, but it'll be about finding a way to make the world a better place.